Son Harvey, the Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya, and the Chairperson of the Lawyer Police Relations Committee, Madam Caroline Kamende, Council members present, members of the Lawyer Police Relations Committee, Council advocates representing the Law Society of Kenya in the numerous cases touching on this issue, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like to thank the Lord for giving us this day today, the fourth commemoration ceremony in remembrance of the lives of our member, Lawyer Willie Kimani, his driver, and his client. Exactly today, 4 years ago, we got the sad news that our colleague had disappeared. The rest of the story that rolled up until when their bodies were found, we all know about that. Up to date, the suspects who were arrested in the matter and charged, the cases are still ongoing. Would like to thank the family of the deceased for being strong during these most trying times. We thank the members of the Law Society of Kenya for standing with the leadership of the Law Society of Kenya, IJM, and other institutions that have been at the forefront fighting for justice on behalf of the three, as well as other Kenyans who have lost their life in the hands, unfortunately, of those who are charged with the responsibility of taking care of us. Allow me to call on Professor Ben Sihanya. I'll give him just 2 minutes to speak to us briefly.
Am I allowed am I allowed to remove this? Okay. The widow of the late lawyer Willie Kimani, who was my student at the University of Nairobi Law School, the president of the LSK, council members, LSK CEO, Steve Ongaro, my colleague in this important case in the quest for criminal justice, all colleagues and all members of the families of Willie Kimani, Joseph Atmwenda, and Joseph Mwiruri. This is a very important day in the calendar or in the life and struggle for criminal justice in Kenya and in the world. We still remember 4 years ago when one weekend we read in social media that a lawyer and his client and driver were missing and could not be traced. Many of us did not spend the weekend happily as we had planned or to rest. We started talking to many, especially young lawyers, and because we had been told that he had been in the company of the police, we hoped for the best but feared the worst because of the circumstances. I'm very happy that the young lawyers quickly mobilized and put pressure on a rather reluctant legal fraternity at the time, to whom the cause of criminal justice was anathema. And luckily they mobilized, and I remember the LSK convened a meeting at the Supreme Court, and many of us attended and asked the question that it's not necessary just now to focus on press conferences. This is the time that lawyers must use their main tool, which is going to court and seek habeas corpus, sub judiciendum, that the bodies be produced alive or dead. I always prefer alive or dead, not dead or alive, because I keep hoping. So that was done, and I'm glad that LSK mobilized and allowed some of us and gave us the opportunity to represent Willie Kimani, the family, the victims, as well as pursue the cause of justice for Mwenda and Mwiruri. The matter attracted a lot of attention in Kenya, lawyers young and old, and in the world. Steve Ongaro just reminded me that a message came all the way from Barack Obama and others. This was an important issue, and the Law Society, LSK, was congratulated on taking on such an important question because they disappeared and they killed, they kidnapped has been a major feature in Kenya and other countries like Argentina, etc., etc. So this was a very important move, and I'm glad that a lot of progress has been made, and that as we stand, we are left with just about 3 witnesses. We hope, God willing, we've been trying to see how this could be done in the context of COVID. It's been tough. We've tried to reach out as much as we can without naming names, but I think it's been a challenge. But we thank you, Mr. President, and your council, that you have been firm on trying to see how, while observing COVID protocols, the court processes should continue, because it's very sad that only 2 arms of government are active, and those 2 arms of government are not always very friendly to the cause of justice. In fact, they negate the cause of justice on a daily basis. And therefore, it's been a very sad situation that for a long time, the judiciary was abdicating its role. And that one, we are together and we are very firm on it. The judiciary must see how to work. Even in the course of a revolution, even in the course of a military coup, the courts must speak. Lord Atkin, Livesey, and Anderson, and I had a wartime case in England. The courts must always be there to dispense the course of justice. As I finalize, we must recognize the support of the LSK CEO, succeeding presidents. We must also acknowledge the support of Council for IHM, Senior Counsel Fredo Jambo. I think he's been very, very important in this, and his team. And we have been working together. The DPP office has taken this matter as seriously as they can, led in the court by my former classmate Nicholas Mutuku, and we just want to say that we have not arrived. We need to push on and try to see how the cause of justice may be served for Advocate Willie Kimani, who was killed in the course of the duty, and that could be any of us. Joseph Watamwenda, who was killed in the course of the duty, border rider, that could be any Kenyan. Joseph Mwiruri, a taxi driver who was killed in the course of duty, that can be any of us. And if nothing, for nothing else, even for selfish reasons, let us advance the cause of justice and the rule of law. And lastly, I'm very glad that I've seen that LSK is now increasingly being keen on public interest lawyering, which some of us have always talked about, and I saw even advertisement for a program assistant. Those things matter to many of us. If we just sleep as lawyers, as a bar, if the judiciary sleeps, you lose a country, you lose a generation, you lose the future. Thank you so much, and poleni sana. May we all fight for the disappeared, for Willie Kimani, for Josephat Mwenda, and for Joseph Mwiruri.
Thank you very much, Prof. We appreciate you, together with the legal team, representing all the parties in these cases that are pending in court. And we pray and hope that soon the cases will be finalized. Amongst us, we have the widow of the late Willie Kimani, Madam Anna Kimani. We first wish to appreciate you, together with your family, sincerely for accepting to join us today in this Serenity Corner. We call this the Serenity Corner. The reason why it was established is to give advocates and also our clients, visitors, an opportunity to gather here, sit, and remember what has befallen us as a legal profession. Remember what our role is, what we swore to protect in dispensation of justice. I'll now invite Anna to give us a brief speech.
With all protocols observed, good morning. In loving memory of a dear son, brother, husband, and wonderful father, if good things really happen to good people, why did death steal away someone from us so special? If karma really comes around, why did fate deal with us this blow? Your death has stopped our whole life flow. What did we do to be pushed into gallows of misery? We can't understand why you were taken away from us. May the Lord continue to grant Willie, Josephat, and Joseph eternal rest. I take this opportunity to thank LSK, IJM Kenya, and other partners for remembering Willie, Josephat, and Joseph today. We hope and pray their death was not in vain. Thank you.
And keep you together with the children of the late Willie Kimani in our prayers. Some of the things that have befallen us as a nation, especially witnessing increasing police brutality, has led us as a Law Society of Kenya to come up with strategies. Recently, we did launch a hotline for members of public to call and report incidences of violation of human rights, including police brutality. In addition to this, the council did set up a police lawyer relations committee, which has been charged with the responsibility of putting up policies and strategies to ensure that we bridge the gap and be able to improve the relationships between the lawyer and the police. And that committee currently is chaired by the Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya, Madam Caroline Kamende. I will now call on her to talk to us. Welcome, Vice President.
Thank you, Madam CEO. The widow of the late Willie Kimani, Madam Hannah Kimani, the President of the Law Society of Kenya, Mr. Nelson Harvey, council members present, and council members watching us from wherever they are, Professor, Senior Mr. Ongaro, and all the members of the society present and the Secretariat, and members of the Law Society and those of the public watching us from wherever they are, good morning. My name is Caroline Kamende Daudi. I'm the Vice President and also the convener of the Advocates Police Relations Committee. Before I read the committee's speech, I would request the members present, the members of the committee that are present to rise up so that I can introduce them. Importance of the law enforcement in an open, free and democratic society is for purposes of promoting public safety and upholding the rule of law. Equally important is the role of a lawyer, an advocate in our setup within the justice system, who has a unique responsibility in the same society to further public good by championing for equal rights and fairness. In the very manner that human rights are indivisible, interdependent and interrelated, so is the golden thread that cuts across the entire justice sector, which and its players, key among them the police and advocates. In spite of this interdependence, conflict between the police and the advocates is not new. I will give an instance where in November last year, a dispute over a parking spot in New Delhi escalated to lawyers setting fire to a police van and other vehicles as officers ransacked lawyers' chambers. The effect of the said conflict is that several members on both sides had to be hospitalized. Closer home, police intimidation, harassment, and extrajudicial killings targeting advocates in the line of duty is the sole reason why we are gathered here today, to specifically commemorate a defender of human rights who paid the ultimate price, Mr. Willie Kimani, together with his driver and client. Under Section 4E of the Law Society of Kenya Act, number 21 of 2014, the Law Society of Kenya's core mandate is to protect and assist the public in Kenya in all matters touching ancillary or incidental to the law. The Society is legally mandated to be a champion of constitutionalism, the rule of law and administration of justice, and the full implementation of the Bill of Rights. To achieve its intended objectives, the frosty relationship that has previously prevailed as between advocates and the police has to be thawed for the benefit of the dispensation of justice and for the society as a whole. It is in this regard that the Council, under the leadership of President Harvey, resolved to constitute the Lawyer Police Relations Committee at the National Office, aimed at facilitating engagements with the Office of the Inspector General of Police, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, and collaborating with the Office of the Director for Public Prosecutions to develop guidelines that will foster police-advocate engagement. These four institutions, as key stakeholders in the justice sector, should synergize efforts to support administrative and institutional frameworks that will contribute to creating and consolidating a safe and enabling environment in which both legal practitioners and the police are supposed and empowered to carry out their professional duties and activities. Among the parameters that the Law Society of Kenya seeks to engage the Office of the IG with a view to establishing sustainable solutions are: 1. Police-advocate relationship. The Lawyer Police Relations Committee shall seek to come up with guidelines that will address the issues of advocate-police relations holistically and offer viable and sustainable solutions to all players. In this regard, subject to public participation, the Council shall continue to seek interventions from the Office of the IG and other duty bearers in the justice sector in approving and initiating the implementation of the said guidelines. Should the same prove viable, LSK shall engage in joint seminars, validation forums and trainings with members of the disciplined forces for a better understanding of the guidelines to be developed. At this point, I acknowledge that there were guidelines that were already developed by the Nairobi branch, and we shall be liaising with them in this engagement. Friday arrests. There can be no longer greater threat to the rule of law in a democratic society than when defenders of the rule of law are arbitrarily arrested or placed in mortal and personal danger while carrying out their professional duty. Advocates are critical players in the administration of justice and the advancement of the rule of law, and play a crucial role in the maintenance of a free and just society. It is therefore imperative that they be adequately safeguarded by the authorities. That is number 2. Number 2 is Friday arrest. Number 3 is the police bail and bond. A major source of conflict between advocates and the police has also been the discretionary powers exercised by chief of police stations, that is the OCSs, in giving police bail or bond to suspects, which is subject to abuse. This had occasionally led to an unequal and unstandardized and haphazard application of the discretion. The committee shall endeavor to engage with other stakeholders towards coming up with a standardized policy. This we will seek the input of the judiciary, because I know they have a manual on this. In conclusion, as we stand here on this solemn occasion today to remember our brother Willie, his driver and the client, and in a deserved honor of our learned friend and larger community members who have suffered in the hands of the police, our message as LSK remains boldly clear, that we shall bravely pursue justice to its end for every case presented to us. I will quote the American human rights activist, Reverend Alfred Charles Sharpton Jr., who once said, "Let me be clear, as I have repeatedly, I do not believe that all police officers are bad, nor do I believe that most are bad. But there must be a transparent, impartial, and fair system to judge those that engage in criminal or unethical acts." Similarly, we hope that the engagement between advocates and the police in their respective line of duty will entrench an accountability mechanism against officers engaging in criminal and unethical acts. Lastly, and with the permission of the President of the Law Society and upon approval of Council, and support of the Police Lawyer Committee, I am pleased to invite the President to launch a toll-free line that we set up for advocates to report on any cases of harassment by law enforcers in the course of their work. We hope in due course and with the approval of the President and the Council that we shall roll out similar toll-free lines to the 8 branches of the Law Society of Kenya. Mr. President, kindly come, and thank you all.
Hannah, Kimani, colleagues, Kenyans, good morning. I Am Willie is a call we took 4 years ago. And I Am Willie is a call that is appropriate. Appropriate because forced disappearances, coordinated murders at the behest of the government are incidences that do not affect advocates alone. It is a sad day because Kenya, like many other countries, is a country where we have statutes of those who have committed murder. We've not seen the statue of J.M. Karuki. We've not seen the statue of Dr. Robert Ouko. Why is that so? As we move forward, we must always remember that these atrocities are atrocities that befall everybody. But we must remain firm and ensure that those who are responsible are held accountable once and for all. We do not want a repeat of this thing. May I thank our legal team. May I thank the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. May I thank the judiciary. May I thank the entire Kenyan public for remaining steadfast in the quest, first, to identify the whereabouts of our 3 departed colleagues, and second, for ensuring that the wheels of justice start moving and continue moving to bring these perpetrators to book. May I make a humble request to the judiciary to expedite the hearing of this matter. It cannot be that a crime committed within a period of less than 1 hour takes 4 years to prosecute or to defend. Let us once and for all make history. I want the judiciary to complete this matter as soon as possible so that the history is set and the precedent is set. We should not have a repeat of something of this kind again. Let us continue insisting on the rule of law, because without the rule of law, we are likely to generate to a state of anarchy, which is not conducive for the development of man. Are we able to launch? We will be having a webinar a few minutes from now, so I will not be able to speak a lot. In an effort to ensure that violations of these kinds do not continue, the Law Society has launched a toll number which will be available for use by advocates all over the country in the event that you are in trouble. The number is 0800 720 434. Please make use of this number. You are Willie. We are Willie. We'll always be Willie. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless the Law Society of Kenya. God bless Kenya.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Council members who have joined us today. I would also like to thank the members of the Lawyer Police Relations Committee who joined us today and who have been working very hard to support the Council with initiatives that will help the Law Society of Kenya eradicate the challenges that we are facing between the police and lawyers, as well as police and Kenyans. I would wish to pass my sincere appreciation to the family of the late Willie Kimani. Special thanks to the widow, Madam Anna Kimani. You've always been there with us wherever we've called you to commemorate the passing on of lawyer Willie Kimani. We continue to pray for you together with the widow and the children of the driver, the late driver and the late client of Willie Kimani. We'd also wish to thank IJM, ICJ, together with all the other institutions that have partnered with us to ensure that we celebrate commemoration ceremony, the fourth ceremony this year. I would like now to invite all of you to join us on the webinar panel discussion on enforced disappearances and advancing accountability for torture in Kenya. Among the speakers will be our President Nelson Harvey, the DPP Noldin Haji, representative of OHCHR, Mr. Victor Kamau, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Madam Wamaitha Kimani, IJM, and Hussein Khalid of Haki Africa. The webinar is already going on and we'll be moving to that session right now.